Hello everyone, this is City Decoded. I am your host, Sophia Turner, and I welcome you all back to a new episode. This episode is going to be about the Stockholm Syndrome. Now, I know you may ask, what is the Stockholm Syndrome? The Stockholm Syndrome, it was created by a Dr. Annette Vargas, and he stated that it's a coping mechanism to a captive or abusive situation. People develop positive feelings toward their captors or abusers over time. This condition applies to situations including child abuse, coach and athlete abuse, relationship abuse, and sex trafficking. This is a coping mechanism that they use to survive the days, weeks, and or even years of trauma and abuse, which is a psychological condition that include trauma bonding, learned helplessness, battered person syndrome. So that's what that includes: trauma bonding, learned helplessness, battered person syndrome. Okay? So, and they say how this name was derived from. How did Dr. Vargas even come up with this particular name? And how he developed this name was from a 1973 bank robbery incident that happened in Stockholm, Sweden. During the 6-day standoff with police, many of the captive bank employees became sympathetic toward the bank robbers. After they were set free, some bank employees refused to testify against the bank robbers in court and even raise money for their defense. A criminologist and psychiatrist investigating the event developed the term Stockholm Syndrome to describe the affinity that some employees developed toward the bank robbers. Now, why did they have sympathy for their captors? Researchers really don't know. They was making hypotheses on, based off of the facts, based off of what type of trauma was brought in the mix of being held hostage, as well as probably based off of how they developed sympathy for the robbers because of what maybe the robbers spoke about as far as their life. Us human beings can have empathy, and we can definitely, feel and understand sometimes why some people go rogue on in life. That's just who we are. That's a part of our nature. We humans. So we definitely can have deep sympathy for people. So the thing is, this explains sometimes why some people doesn't leave their abusers right away. Like the Cassie situation. And I know I keep reverting back to that because that's most recent in my mind. But the Cassie situation is very real. She was with Sean Combs for more than 10 years. Almost 11 years. So with her being with him all those years, I've heard some comedians or even, and other people state that, well, she was with him all those years. How can he make her sleep with another man? Make her do whatever it is that he made her do. And that's what brings me to the Stockholm Syndrome. That she developed, well, she must have some form of love for him. I don't know how she was raised. I don't know what she experienced throughout her young life. But it could have been something that he offered her that she never received before. And I'm not even just talking about the money, which probably is a part of it, because his money allowed for him to walk through doors that a regular person would not be able to walk through. So that's part of that reason. And she saw this. And so maybe she became, I guess, aware of that and really said, okay, he got some power. And she wanted, to keep on experiencing certain things about it. And she may have associated that with love. Who knows? But as they said, that they developed sympathy for their captors or abusers. I mean, you have women who stayed with their abusive husbands for years. For years. Reports have been made and everything. And some has tried to leave. Some have went into those programs where it's hard for the husband or even wife or whoever the abuser, to locate them. But for some reason, after they get into this program and they're away for a little bit, some of them even go back. I don't know what makes them go back, and I'm gonna have to associate it with the Stockholm Syndrome. They develop sympathy for their captor or their abuser. So that could be one of the reasons why Cassie stayed. I really don't know why she stayed. I'm just, trying to understand certain things about how trauma works. And when it comes down to emotions, when it comes down to your physical being, when it just comes down to, your mentality of how you think, so that's why I had to do a little bit more research on that situation. When I discovered Stockholm Syndrome, I had to learn a little bit more about it. So it also can apply to anyone who have PTSD. It has to be treated, of course. PTSD have to be treated. Postpartum stress disorder. You can experience that like if you ever was in a war. If you was in the military and you was active and you experienced being in a war where, you have killed people, you have seen a lot of killing, it's just, it's horror. It's a horror story if you've ever been in the midst of that type of experience, being in a war. So you come home and you still are shell-shocked behind all what you've seen and witnessed, and some of the things you even had to act on to survive. That's hard. War is not easy. We humans have this psychological mind where it can be traumatized because of what we see and what we experience, and sometimes how we have to survive through whatever is going on. It's not easy. So you have to receive treatment for that. You have to receive psychiatric and psychological treatment, counseling. That can help for you to have a better understanding and how to move on and get past. You're never going to forget, but you can move on and try to live a healthier life just by trying to receive some form of treatment. Yes, some would say that the $30 million was all about the money, because why didn't Cassie come forward, before and file criminal charges? She waited until, I guess, they was coming to the end of, once you pass, the criminal charges aspect of it, where it's already, you can't file criminal charges no more, but you still can file a civil lawsuit. And that's when it goes back to what New York have in place. And I think it ended back at the end of November of this year. And she filed her grievance, her claim that, what Puffy did to her throughout the years that she was with him. And she received $30 million for that. But I know a lot of folks want to focus on the money. As I said before, you want to know why some people wait so long to speak about their trauma. In my mind, I'm thinking that they're only trying to really fully understand why they allow for themselves to be put in that position in the first place. They feel ashamed. They feel embarrassed. You know, it could be so many different emotions to why some people wait so long. They feel like they are the blame in most cases. So they may feel like they at the end of a losing battle. And when you're dealing with someone who has power and prestige, a lot of folks would feel that way. You know, and the courage that it took for her to come forward now, that's what I look at. If this really happened to her, I look at her being very courageous. And she also, you know, started a catapult of others coming forward too, as far as their abuse by the same person. So, I mean, that's how I look at it. It could be so many different reasons why she came forward, but I still stand in my argument that if it takes 10 or more years for you to come forward, okay, it's your right to come forward when you feel courageous enough to do so. Maybe she was still weak in those moments. So she allowed it to go on and she felt like it was a losing battle. Who knows why the abusee takes so long in a lot of cases. Yeah, there's some, I remember I was listening to the comedian Miss Lunell. You know, she spoke on her being abused when she was a teenager. I believe she was raped. And she came forward that same day. Everyone is not as courageous. And I'm proud that she came forward that same day. And she tried to file criminal charges against the person. But, you know, that's good. That started her healing. It takes others a little longer. It's like when it comes down to learning. You know, everyone don't learn in the same way. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And sometimes others may need a little extra time. You know, back when you was in school and you had a teacher and your teacher put you in groups, and sometimes she put you in a group like the A group, the B group, the C group. The A group was the ones that learned real fast. They have those these good readers, and and they did very well. They had very good grades. And then B was like, right behind the A class. And then you have the C, not so strong when it comes down to their grades and how they learned. So you need to show them a little extra attention than you needed to, show the A group and the B group. That's in life. I remember when I transitioned with, because I'm a security, I'm an armed security officer for the federal government. So we transitioned from the revolver to the semi-automatic. Everyone didn't learn the same way. Everyone, some people you need to work a little longer with than others, because it could be based on how the instruction was being brought across. Everyone don't instruct the same way, so you got to learn the different languages on, from their last instructor to the current instructor. It could be so many different reasons why it may take this person a little longer to understand or grasp what it is you're trying to show them and teach them than this person over here who learns real fast. It's not much. You show them one time and they got it. Everyone don't learn and pick up the same way. So that's why I'm saying this. So, as I said, so everyone don't learn the same way. So it could be several different reasons why, a person may take a while to even speak about their abuse, to even talk about it, share with anybody else, So it's so many different reasons. But the Stockholm Syndrome is real. It happens, the abusee do develop sympathy for their abuser. It could be that they fell in love with this person already, like for when it come down to being in a relationship. And then that the person changes on them in their mind. And then they become very aggressive in being abusive. But they feel that the person, because based off of how they started with them and they allow for themselves to fall in love with them, and they thinking this person is still in love with them. They don't understand that was like a control thing in the beginning anyway, but they learned how that captor learned, or the abuser learned how to use this person's weakness against them so they can be on top. They can have that power over them. They don't understand that because, if someone hits you very aggressively, where they blacken your eye and breaking your bones and things of that nature, that's not love, baby. You got to have more self-worth about yourself. You got to love yourself. You got to love yourself more than you love anyone else. Just so you can sustain and be level-headed to take care of yourself so you can be in a position to take anyone else that falls under your love. That's just how it is. You got to take self-evaluation is important. Self-love is important. You got to take care of self first. And sometimes you may need that healing by talking to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, to really bring out what it is that you need to work through so you can focus better. They say you know better, you do better. Sometimes people just don't know. You would think they would know, but sometimes they really don't know. Your learning is based off of your life experiences a lot of the times. It's not always in a book. You really got to experience certain things about what's going on out here in the world and then about people, how to deal with people, because there are some people who know how to play on your intelligence. Very good. Using their, they're very intelligent, very smart, very witty with how they approach you. Because they watch your behavior and how you interact. They see if you hold your head down and not look straight at someone. Look a person in their eye. That way you say the eyes is the window to the soul. I believe that to be very, very true. So you pay attention to that. Look a person directly in their eyes when they're talking to you. Let them see where you come from. And you have to understand that you're living on being a worthy person. You have standards. You have values. You have beliefs that you live by every single day. And you don't let no one tear that away from you. Because that's a part of who you are. So we got to understand ourselves first so we can learn and love others. Understand self, love self, so you can learn to love others in a positive way, not a negative. A person that's putting their hands on you, that's not love. They're not love taps. I want people to understand that. A person that's taking advantage of you, if you tell a person no and they still taking advantage of you, and that's not love. Making you do things that you normally wouldn't do, but you think that this person loves you and you love them, so you're going to do it anyway. You're allowing them to have that mind control. That's not love. Because a person who loves you wants to see you happy at all times, want to see you at peace, want to lift you up, want to validate you as a person. So that's what you got to trust in. You got to understand that so you know your worth, you know your value in life. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to understand. So, but another example of the Stockholm Syndrome, if I don't know if y'all know the story, I don't know too much of the story, but I know a brief history of it. Her name was Patty Hearst. She was the granddaughter of a newspaper owner. She was the heiress. She's one of the heirs to a newspaper. And this was back in 1974. She was kidnapped by a group called Symbionese Liberation Army. Symbionese Liberation Army is the name of the group. I'm probably really butchering the first name. It's spelled Symbionese. So I'm going to say Symbionese, I believe, Liberation Army. That's the group that kidnapped her for money, and she grew sympathetic to their quest, and she started helping them to rob. Yeah, she was a Caucasian lady. Her grandfather owned a very popular newspaper. So that's one of the, and so she grew in sympathy for her captors. So that's the Stockholm Syndrome. I'm sure they probably, by her growing up as an heiress, having money, wealth, being able to go into many different places without no issue, without no problems due to her status. And then she been around these people who she probably never been around before, and she started seeing what their quest is, what it is, why they doing what they doing, and she felt sympathy for them, you know, and she started helping them. So that's a part of Stockholm Syndrome. So all I'm going to say, I'm going to end this by stating this. Take care of yourself. Love yourself. See yourself as value and worthy of anything and everything good out here. You can achieve anything you want if you put your mind to it and you utilize work ethics. You can achieve anything you want in life. And some things set you up for other things. You may think that you're shooting for this star, but in reality, this one is where you really want to be at. So you got to work toward all of that. You got to put in that work, put in that time, put in that effort, stay consistent, be smart about it. Don't let no one deter you from what it is you're trying to accomplish in life. Understand that sometimes you got to make sacrifices, but love yourself above all. Above all and everything, love yourself so you can show love to others. Don't let no one come in trying to tear you down, try to belittle you, trying to make you feel less than. Understand your worth. So let's keep it moving, y'all. Let's keep shooting up for the stars and even high above that into the galaxy. Let's reach what it is we need to reach. Do what we need to do so we can have a personal peace about ourselves. When we look into the mirror, we can say, oh, Safina, you did well. And that's what I want to say to myself. And I want us all to say that to ourselves. Every day we look in the mirror. Safina, you did well. Mark, you did well. Nia, you did well. Michael, you did well. Deborah, you did well. Martino, you did well. Lonzel, you did well. You good. And that's it. I love you all. Thank you for the support. And I'll see you in the next episode.